The real Maika, not the
You're not
Jake
supposed to be
Maika.
fashionably late.
Wonderful
to this
Maika Monroe. Let's
particular
give a
event.
big round of applause.
What I miss?
Lots of echoing.
Oh, yeah, I
Lots
hear
of
it.
magical. We were just talking about Dan and Bobby were just saying how it felt to kind of hear people for the first time respond to the movie and all the kind of big moments.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, Dan, how did it feel for you?
I would say just about the same. Yeah, it's always very gratifying, bringing a movie to the world.
Yeah, and thank you all for taking part in the very planned interval that we had while we sorted out the audiovisual situations. But yeah, I mean, thank you all for coming again. This is such a wonderful movie. I enjoyed it so much. And it is such a unique film that goes on kind of such a puzzle box unfolding journey. So, Dan, could you talk a little bit about the origin?
Sure, yeah. We were kind of sitting in the darkest days of the lockdown in 2020 and trying to figure out how we would get back to a film set or if there would even be a film industry 6 months from that point. And so we just set out to make the most COVID-friendly movie.
It's just so echoey.
Oh, I know.
It's very haunting,
I'm hoping
just like
someone
the
else
movie.
can hear me. But yeah, we set out to make a COVID-friendly movie. So we said, okay, it'll be 2 characters, 100% outdoors. No one can hear what I'm saying. Should I start speaking in Spanish?
Give it a try. Maybe it'll echo less.
But but that's where the kernel started, and we thought, okay, if it's going to be 2 people in the woods, the most drama that you can mine might be a relationship. So that it kind of started, and the kernel grew from there.
I'm just going to test something. My voice is quite loud. Can you guys hear me if I don't have the microphone? Yeah? Shall we?
Mixed.
Oh, you guys are okay.
Maybe it might just
It's
be
just
bouncing
us.
back at
Yeah,
us.
okay.
Yeah, so let's just,
In
we're
that case,
good.
love to hear it. Glad
Yeah.
you guys are all getting a great.
The sound is, to me, it's like being in an empty like football stadium having an intimate conversation at opposite
Yeah,
end zones.
it's quite spectacular. It's a unique
one person being like,
experience.
Yeah.
Tell me your secrets. Well, my.
Micah and Jake, what was it like reading the script for the first time? Because it's really quite a journey that both of your characters go on. And you can talk about it now. No, spoilers. Everyone's seen it, so feel free to.
God, it's so nice.
Yeah, I read it the first time. I thought, am I reading this tone correctly? Because on page it is similar to what you've seen, and I thought, is it that? Is this funny? This is funny right here, right? And then also horrifying, and then funny again. And we Zoom, as you do during the pandemic for these meetings, and was assured that I had read that correctly, that that is how we were sort of building and changing and navigating different genres kind of braided together. And yeah, I was thrilled to try to do that. To think I've never read something like this, seen it done, and how can we, that's loud, make that work,
Yeah, Michael, was it similar for you?
Yes, quite similar. Oh, it's terrible hearing your own voice.
Awful.
No, I had worked with Dan and Bobby on a project called Villains.
Yeah, everyone's wonderful.
Thanks, guys. That's nice. And I had such a good time. And then they came to me with this other script, and I was just really hoping that I would love it. I read it and I love good twists in movies, and when you're watching something and you're certain it's going one way, and then it just, so yeah, that's kind of how it came to be.
Yeah, and this really is a movie where I feel like even if you are a master twist getter, you are not going to guess where this is going.
No.
And Maika, you're an exec producer on this too.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about that and kind of taking ownership of that part of the project?
Yeah, I mean, like I had said, I'd worked with Dan and Bobby before, and had truly, I had done about like 3 movies. I think it was back to back, and Villains was at the end of that. And I wasn't really like, it's just a couple of tough projects, and then came on to Villains, and it just reminded me of like how much I love making movies. And Dan and Bobby are like, I don't know, there's something about being on set with them, and they're so great with actors, have such like a refreshing outlook on the movie making process. And so for me, it was just kind of like a no-brainer of wanting to work with them kind of in any way that I could.
Yeah, and how did the two of you, Jake, I'll start with you, how do you keep the emotional kind of temperature of your character and where you're going as you're filming? Because there's so much that changes for you, but also only so much you can show in your performance. So how did you kind of go about that?
I guess just trying to hammer out like the architecture of the piece and to be clear in each of those things as to like exactly what's happened, exactly how far along in the process we are, how we can kind of like draw out like how long we can go before you really know what's happening, before the turn is revealed, and to I don't know, keep that as clear as you can for us. I don't know, this is a rambling answer. I'm sorry.
I mean,
You're doing great, bud.
Yeah.
Just trying to take it like piecemeal and stay clear on everything. Like it's not, you're shooting this like
That's what I was gonna say,
incrementally. It's not, there's no like wash of it where you go like, oh, am I crazy now? Like, you're very much like, oh, this has just happened, we're doing this, it leads to this moment, and just trying to piece that in. And then, on the day you're filming you're in this area, and then the edit, they can go like, shunk, this is right where we need to be. So some of that's due to performance, but some of that is due to these guys sitting in a bay and being like, that's too much, this is better here,
And Micah, how did you experience that with Ruth? Especially because the way that the audience sees it, Ruth becomes the suspicious party first. So what was it like to kind of have to put that across there and look like you wanted to kill Harry, but you interiorly knew why you needed to do it?
I mean, honestly, it was quite tough. It was like a fine line to walk, keeping the audience thinking one thing. Yes, bless you. And also like having an internal conversation and knowing, okay, so we want the audience to believe this. How can I have that sort of look, but it means something different to me?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, just fine line to walk.
And I guess like Dan and Bobby, what was it like for you to write this script that was full of so many twists and turns, and then kind of be on set and have to actually make it happen in a way that felt authentic and organic?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think like there's always a bit of a battle between, what an actor wants to do to feel natural, and then like what we need them to do story-wise. And so there were a lot of our conversations had to do with like, we collaborated a lot on this script. We got a couple of days of rehearsing together. We got to talk about it in the weeks leading up to it. And a lot of the changes we made had to do with that, where one of them would say to us, hey, this one line, like, I know what you mean, like you need me to say it to sell this, but I just can't, it's not natural, And so we would work on that situation and make little tweaks to it until it became natural. And I think that process really just helped the movie and helped those twists sell. And then I think like a big part of sort of like what Jake was saying, I think in the edit we found a lot to make the twist work, because a lot of things that you don't think about when you're watching a movie, like whose perspective you're in, come into play, right? So there's a lot of times when it's Alien Jake, you don't know it yet, but it's Alien Jake, and we are like alone with him. And a lot of times when it's that person who is the antagonist, you don't get to be alone with them, And so by cutting to Jake at the campsite, seeing him wonder, where is Maika and all that stuff, that helps to sell that twist, because you think, oh, well, they wouldn't possibly do this with like someone who was the alien, And honestly, for us, it was just a matter of like not doing too much. I think we went into it, you know, being like, okay, how can we completely bury this in every single way possible? And we actually dialed it back and made it almost a little more guessable than it once was, because I think we went overboard there. And yeah, where it landed, I think it's something we're really proud of, and people seem to not get the twist and stuff. So this is the hardest part, is like talking about it to press or whoever, and trying to not give it away. And like, we watching like these guys have to answer questions, and we're behind them like, don't say that, don't you say that, like that kind of stuff.
It must be nice that is tonight. The next sort of 24 hours is going to come
really
to
let
an
our
end.
hair down now. Yeah.
You guys are free. If you've got any questions, feel free to jump up and stand behind that mic. That will be our question spot for the audience. I believe we already have a taker, so.
Thank you. Really enjoyed that. So this is a question for everyone. Out of curiosity, how much, if any, of the backstory of the couple, beyond what we just saw on the screen, did you imagine beforehand, either in the script writing process or in preparation for the acting and filming?
Sure. I mean, we worked out, I think, a lot of the basics, at least we did when writing the script. Often we like to allow actors to sort of backfill some of that stuff themselves, just because that can be helpful as a performer, and it doesn't, matter to us necessarily how you get to where you need to be on the day performance-wise, but, it was important for us to understand what these characters were doing in their lives, what their occupations were, perhaps, just so we could really frame that, sort of divergent worldviews that these two characters have about what the rest of their lives might look like. So yeah, I think we did a little bit of the foundational building block stuff, but nothing super specific.
Yeah, we certainly didn't want to like bog anything down. I think it was just important that we understood that these are two people with two different kind of worldviews that are trying to make their relationship work, and one of them sort of has this the things we learn about Harry are like that he's a teacher, and then like he's the one driving the car and like things like that. And then like, and Ruth, we set her up as being like a little bit more of a free spirit, and we learn more about her like hobbies and stuff. We learn about we learn about her surfing. We learn about those sorts of things. And so, we just we always say that like, Harry sort of represents this, more down the middle future and lifestyle of, getting married and having kids and going a more traditional route that she's trying to necessarily not go down that path. And then this movie is like about how impossible it is to escape those expectations.
Thank you.
Hi. Great movie, guys. Love a good cliffhanger. I got two questions. One for the directors, one for Maika. Sorry, Jack. The White Lotus was great, though. For the directors, what was shooting this like? What was like the crew size? Was there a lot of hiking? What was that?
Sure. Yeah, it was. It was a pretty decently sized crew. I think we were like 80 to 100 people at any given time, and this is obviously out in the woods the whole time. But most of the time, we are. If you could see where the other side of the frame, if we could turn the camera around 180 degrees, you'd see a parking lot. A lot of this is like on a campsite, and all of the trucks and the circus of all the catering and everything is in this parking lot, and we are like 20 feet into the woods and just making it look that way. There were a couple places where we had to schlep stuff out, but what was great is that shooting in Portland, like that's all those people do out there. Like they're like, we were so worried about shooting outside, and we're like, what if it rains and all this stuff? And like, they were just like, dude, we do this literally every day, And so it was comforting to have those professionals and all their experience to help us.
Very cool. This is for Maika. I have to ask this because It Follows is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I show it to anybody that I can. Same with David's second film. I hype those up. What's your headcanon for what happened there with that cliffhanger in that movie? And would you ever be, interested in a sequel?
Yeah, it's a great cliffhanger. Yeah, I'd love to work with David again. I think he's so incredibly talented, and I think it was really cool that time when It Follows came out, Babadook, and The Witch. I feel like those were three movies that kind of changed or at a time when the horror genre was was changing. And so, to answer your question, yes, I would.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Hi, this question is for Jake. What was it like going from filming White Lotus and basically in Paradise to filming something totally different in this type of an environment?
I mean, it was incredible to, we shot in Maui, so that was pretty great. It was a little bizarre. We were at a hotel that is wildly luxurious, and no one was there, and no one was working there. So it was like a mix of like being at the Four Seasons and like eating at McDonald's at the same time. You're just like, I thought this would be fancier than this is, And then the tourists came back, and like all the food got really cranked up again, and we were like, oh, this is great. But that was incredible. And then honestly, I'd never been to the Pacific Northwest, and didn't really know what to expect, and got there, and along with this lovely cast and Dan and Bobby and a great crew, really fell in love with Portland. I mean, like it seems like two wildly different places, but like I absolutely love it up there. So it was a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
How you doing? How many times did Jake deliver the "better off being a deer" line before you were like, that's the one? And also, like, was there any ad-libbing that like you just tried but this was like the final cut?
Yeah, most of that was ad-libbing. Jake is like one of the funniest people we have ever met. So shooting
Truly,
that scene
it's a problem.
was very, yeah. He would like. I mean, certainly what's on camera. When he was supposed to be funny, he was funny. But every single take, regardless of how dark or emotionally engaged the scene was supposed to be, he would attempt to break Maika, and did it several times. And like, it's funny the first few times, and then you're like, dude, we're burning money here. What the fuck? But it's just, it's the cost
keep it
of
light,
working with him.
keep it light.
I mean, the raw footage is incredible because he's just riffing and he's doing this tight five like right up until we say action, and then all of a sudden and it just goes to
Maika's
show,
got tears streaming down her eyes.
yeah, exactly, and he's just like sitting there saying like something about like the onion ring tower that we had last night or whatever. And just watching. I mean, honestly, I have such respect for the both of them because they could then just snap right back and do the scene. It was incredible.
Keep it fresh, keep it alive.
So, sounds like we need an outtake reel then.
Thank you so much. And this one will be our last question.
Hi, good evening. By the way, Jake, I'm a fan, and I'm jealous of you for getting to roll around with Jessica Chastain. I'm very jealous of you and Miss Sloan. Not gonna lie.
Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it
I'm
clean.
jealous, but for the filmmakers, what was the inspiration for setting it in the Pacific Northwest, given any place that it could have been set? Why in Portland? Why the Pacific Northwest? I'm just curious.
Sure. I mean, when we wrote the movie to be in the woods, we just basically, we wanted to seek out the most beautiful woods that we conceivably could, and we were pretty limited to North America, and that's basically, I mean, it was either, we looked at Washington and Vancouver, but it was still kind of international travel, even along that border, was challenging during the pandemic. So Portland was our first choice, and we also needed the coast too. We needed a very unique, dramatic coastline and these like beautiful old growth forests. So it sort of made sense to do it there.
Cool. Well, thank you all so much for doing this
Thank
panel.
you.
Oh, actually, wait, can I just, quick
Oh my gosh,
interjection?
please.
We have a few crew members here. Our cinematographer, Matt Mitchell. I see our on-set post supervisor, Adam Sager. Forget our colorist, Mikey Rossiter. Who else is here? Anyone else here? If anyone else is here,
Yeah.
you guys did an amazing job, and thank you so much.
Thank
We owe it all to
so
you.
much.